Well, hello, 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 and welcome back to another Monday morning on the Summer Spotlight. I am your host, Gayle Nicholson. How is everyone doing today? I want to acknowledge and account for the fact that your screen may not be showing the way that you're used to seeing the show. And I don't know exactly what happened with my Restream software that I use to put things out there. My guess is that they did an update overnight and it threw all of my alignments off. So please don't let that get in the way of you enjoying this wonderful conversation with my guest today, Miss Sandra Blackie. She is a certified personal trainer and nutritionist, and she is with freedomoffitness.com. Thank you so much for joining me this morning, Sandra. How are you?
I'm very, very well. Post 4th of July and into a busy week.
Yes, yes. Did you have a good holiday? For those of you around the world in America yesterday, or 2 days ago actually, it was Independence Day, and most of our fireworks were canceled around the country, but boy, we sure partied anyway, didn't we? How was your weekend?
I walked around La Jolla because it
Oh,
was just such a beautiful day, and I took photos of all the United States flags and the USA decorations, and it was just something I wanted to do to celebrate since we're social distancing and we're not supposed to be in large groups. And then I went to the Cheesecake Factory for a nice salmon salad with a girlfriend of mine.
nice. I
Yeah,
love
that
it.
was it.
That's awesome. Absolutely awesome. Bill and I, we went over to a friend of ours' houses, and we played, with them and their kids, and the kids were in the pool, social distancing, and had a really nice little picnic barbecue with them there. And then we came home early. And since our local fireworks were canceled, we weren't sure if we were really going to get any much of a show. And we sat out on the front porch from 8 until 10, and our neighbors all around us put on this amazing backyard show. We have fireworks here and here and here and here and here, and all this popping and banging. And I'm a big American Revolution buff, so I just closed my eyes for a minute. I imagined what it was like, in the early 17 or the late 1700s. And people would be in their farmhouses and hear these bangs, and they'd look out and there's a battle going on in the field next to them, and the way the Green Mountain Boys turned the tide of the war. Sorry, I'm rambling on, but I am just a gaga about American history and revolution, and it was a moment that I hope everybody gets to experience one time when they can put themselves in that period of time when we were fighting for something that was so dear and so precious, and just our American grit carried the day and created all that we have around us, whether we're happy with the way things are going right now or not, right? So,
I
did you?
was born in Canada,
Oh, did
so
you
I
really?
became a United States citizen in 2004. So we
Awesome.
get a little bit of American history,
Uh huh.
Canadian education, but I had to learn more to pledge allegiance to the flag and get my citizenship back then.
You're so awesome. That is absolutely wonderful that you came and you got your naturalization and all of that. That takes a lot of work. I'm really, really surprised with how much effort it takes and how much you have to learn in order to get your citizenship. Sometimes I think more than they're teaching kids in school. Um, but that's beautiful. I lived in Canada for 7.5 years,
Which
and
part?
Windsor, the only part south of America. And it was a wonderful, wonderful experience. Canadians are such amazing people, and I'm so glad to count them among my friends and family.
I actually placed in the top 10 at the Pro Canadian Cup in Windsor in 2007.
Oh, phenomenal!
Oh,
Now
wait a
that
minute,
was,
not
I
2007.
was
I'm
gonna say, was
sorry.
that after you moved
A
there?
little earlier than that.
Okay,
Yeah. But I've
awesome,
been to Windsor.
awesome, fabulous. So I want to get into the fact that you are a former championship bodybuilder as well. Um, but just kind of leading into that and trying to segue a little bit from the 4th of July festivities. Um, what do you think is the biggest thing that right now people's bodies are dealing with after the barbecues and the beers and the sunlight, excessive sun. How are our bodies feeling today?
Well, if there was a lot of liquor involved, probably a little on the tired side, a little on the dehydrated side. If there were a lot of foods in your diet over this weekend that were not your common foods, maybe you're experiencing a little excess. Maybe your digestive system is a little bit off and you're craving a more normal digestive system this morning.
I think that pretty much puts it in a nutshell.
Yeah.
Definitely. Awesome, awesome, awesome. So yeah, let's talk a little bit about your background in health and fitness and nutrition. I know that you, like we were talking about, you're a professional bodybuilder. You competed as a bodybuilder. I think I recall in your notes that you won professionally once, but the rest of it was all amateur. Tell me more about that.
So, in order to become a professional bodybuilder, you have to win your national title. So, in 1986, I won the Canadian Heavyweight Bodybuilding Championship for women. And as a national champion, back then, that was the criteria for becoming a professional bodybuilder with the International Federation of Bodybuilders. And that meant that we traveled the world and competed against other countries representing our country for prize money. So initially, I represented Canada, and then when I moved to the United States, I would always represent Canada, USA, just to give everybody, equal
And you can
time.
do that because it's not a Olympic type thing, correct?
It's not a what?
It's not an Olympic event where you have to represent one country. You can represent whoever you choose to in that realm, correct?
Yeah, they never told me otherwise. So I said Canada, USA, and they put that in the bulletins and on the flyers and everything. So we're good with it.
Awesome. What did make you come to America? What inspired you to move down here?
I'd come here on vacation a few times when I was competing as an amateur bodybuilder in Canada. But I came to LA. I would go to Gold's Gym in Venice, which was the mecca of bodybuilding at that time. Mm-hmm. And every time I left and went back to Montreal, Canada, I felt like I was leaving home. I felt a connection to the Venice area, the whole bodybuilding culture. They call it the mecca over there. Mm-hmm. So I packed up $1,500 and a head full of dreams, and I left my country with no citizenship, green card, nothing. And I rented a room and I owned a bicycle, and that's how I started my life in America. And 1 year later, I was sitting on my bed, and I still owned a bicycle, a bed, no car, and I had $300 left in my account. And I had a 1 year open-ended airline ticket, and I had to make a decision about whether I was going to go home or whether I was going to rip up the ticket and believe in myself and what I wanted to do as a professional athlete. And I tore up the ticket.
Good for you.
Yeah.
Gosh, that's a moment you'll never forget, eh?
No, my heart races and I get choked up when I even talk about it. But I stayed here because I really believed that it was the place that I was going to have the most purposeful life, the happiest life, and the life of an athlete. And that segued into sharing my passion with other people because it was just kind of a natural thing to do. Mm-hmm. And I went out and got certified. Now, in Canada, I had already gone to Concordia University, and I have a BA in Recreation and Leisure Studies with a major in sociology. So I already had some health and fitness education. Mm-hmm. And then I went out and I got various nutrition certifications and various personal training certs. And here we are 35 years later, and I'm still doing it.
That's phenomenal. So did you prove yourself right?
Yes, I did.
Awesome. Awesome stuff. Now, what has been your biggest trouble staying fit? What is it that you are challenged by with your body makeup?
It's changed. The challenges have changed over the years. So in the very beginning, before I even knew what bodybuilding was, I was kind of chubby. Mm-hmm. My parents always put me into sports, and I had a lot of great support from my family there. I have a brother and a sister that went to the nationals in canoeing and kayaking, so we are a family of athletes, but we never really knew how to eat healthy in our home. You know, mom did the best she could with what she knew. And so I was a chubby, active person. And I would get teased in school for being chubby. And it would make me cry. Then I would get teased for being a crybaby because, as muscular as I used to be, I was still kind of a sensitive soul deep down inside.
Yeah.
So I got motivated to go back to school to learn nutrition because my biggest struggle in the beginning was I didn't know how to eat. So I would do these crazy diets to get my weight down for these competitions. And back then, the coaching and the knowledge of nutrition was just lacking. So I would die with a T, basically do something too extreme. And then after the show, I would just binge and gain all this weight back. Came a cycle with me, and it felt very insane for me. My relationship with food was not okay. So I went to a nutritional therapist, and he was also a Mr. California bodybuilding champion.
Oh, that's
And he had
helpful.
a degree from the Duke University Diet Dispensary. He was a master in dietetics. And Dr. Philip Golia was his name, and he changed my world of nutrition. He taught me that I didn't have to do feast or famine, that I could live in the middle and get all the results I needed for my health and for the competitive stage. And I give him so much credit because a lot of what he has taught me is what I teach today.
That's awesome. That is very awesome. It really does make. I mean, it sounds like the understatement of the universe, but nutrition is the key. You know,
Absolutely.
all the way across the board. It helps us be happier, healthier, more able to fulfill on our purpose and why we're even alive. You know, and if we're just putting stuff into our bodies to fill the hunger pangs that have no nutritional value to them, you know, it's no wonder half of America is running on fumes.
I think one of the struggles that people have that I can really relate to is this whole concept of I'm carrying extra weight, therefore I need to do a diet, and they pick something that's not sustainable. So I know what it's like to do a wide variety of non-sustainable ways of eating in my past experience. I know what it's like to feel physical hunger to the point where it affects your brain function. It
Right.
affects your exercise. It affects your performance in life. And one of the biggest things, and this is the reason for my tagline, which is it's a lifestyle, not a life sentence.
I love
I
that.
teach people how to live in a healthy body using sustainable eating and exercise methods.
That's beautiful. I do love that so much. It's a lifestyle, not a life sentence. Because it really does feel like that for a lot of people, I think, that, you know, they're in a cycle of feast and famine and they don't see a way out. And they feel like it's just going to be like this for the rest of my life. Why even try?
And consistency is key. You said that earlier. It truly is. So when I was struggling, I had to listen to things that went against my belief system. Like Philip would say to me, Sandra, I want you to be consistent with 2,500 calories a day. Now, I was an athlete, so that was what I know today, a reasonable amount of calories. A calorie is a unit of energy, the amount of energy I get through food. And I remember freaking out on him and going, oh no, that's too much food. It's going to make me fat. And he had to tell me over and over and over again to trust the process, that the way I was doing it was not working. And he would get me to acknowledge that. And he would always say, consistency is key. It got to the point where I said, yeah, I know consistency is key. I hear it all the time. He drilled it into my head. And I am so grateful for that today because I am not in this feast or famine cycle anymore. And I can set a good example for my clients and I can help them with that.
That is beautiful. Absolutely. Well, how exactly? How do you help your clients?
Well, I get them to choose exercise that they enjoy.
Okay.
And I do my best to encourage them to have some kind of resistance training, some kind of cardiovascular exercise, and some kind of flexibility, along with a goal-oriented way of eating that's not extreme. So all of this is not an overnight sensation. It's an educational process.
Mm-hmm.
It's counseling to a certain degree. I mean, counseling might be a strong word, but let's call it discussing strategies
Okay.
and finding out what the obstacles are to get them out of the way. For example, if I have a client and their nutrition is all over the place, they're
Mm-hmm.
eating white flour and white sugar and too much alcohol and a lot of harmful fats, I often have a discussion with them about which one are you most likely to let go of or start to diminish because it's not that important to you.
Mm-hmm.
So usually it's not the wine. I gotta tell you, the ladies like their wine.
Yes, we do.
So they might say, okay, I'm willing to reduce the harmful fats in my diet. And of course, I educate them on what that looks like and give them examples. Or they might say, I'm not that emotionally attached to foods that are primarily white flour. So let's start there. So that's just an example. It's an engagement. It's two people, the mentor and the client, putting together a way of eating that's goal oriented, health oriented, and goal oriented so they can reach their goal with the exercise part, because you cannot outrun a poor diet. You cannot outlift a poor diet.
Right.
There's a lot of people that think that all they have to do is exercise and not change their eating habits to live in a lean body, a healthy body, a strong body, and food is key.
It really is. I mean, 2,500 calories of Funyuns is a whole lot different than 2,500 calories of fruit.
And I encourage people to eat from all the food groups. I'm not that keto person or that paleo person. There's a time and place for some of these things, but the average person that just wants to live in a lean, healthy body is going to eat from pretty much all the food groups.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to eat protein, carbohydrates, and fat. I'm going to teach them that carbohydrates are not the devil. It doesn't mean bagels. And of course, bagels are an example of a carbohydrate, but when I say to people, did you know broccoli is a carbohydrate? I've had people turn to me and go, no, it's not. And I go, no, you can Google it. Dr. Google will tell you.
Yeah. And strangely enough, it's also protein.
Yeah, but to such a tiny amount.
Yeah.
The best proteins will come from the animal food group.
Yeah.
Like the salmon and the shrimp and the chicken breast and things like that. Now, it doesn't mean that there's no protein in broccoli, but it's small. And without getting too complicated, complete protein has to have all 8 essential amino acids in it. So a lot of the vegetarian proteins are missing something, but you just combine it with the foods that contain it and it balances out. Again, that's an educational process.
Right. Right. Speaking of that educational process, you've been doing this for 35 years.
Mm-hmm.
How do you keep going? I mean, I get tired of telling my kids 3 times to do something.
Each person is different. Everybody comes with a whole set of variables that's unique to me. So yeah, there's a few things that I repeat a lot, and probably one of them is carbohydrates do not make you fat. I get that a lot, and so I do repeat that, and sometimes the little inside voice is rolling her eyeballs and going, why is that so difficult for people to truly believe? And I'm going to just suggest that the media is a very powerful tool. So pay attention to what you listen to.
Yes, absolutely correct. Right there. Oh my goodness. Now, you had quite the little pivot happen forced upon you, from what I hear, in that when you launched your most recent program, in just a couple of days after that, the entire country got locked down and couldn't go
Yes.
to the gym.
Oh.
You poor thing.
You know,
You
what am I
must
going to do
have been.
about it? I mean, I just couldn't. I could not believe that. I spent thousands of dollars putting together this beautiful exercise library. I spent a lot of time, a lot of it is from my 35 years of experience, putting together a great nutritional online guideline for the women. And of course, it's different for the men because they get to eat more because they're bigger people, they have more muscle.
Mm-hmm.
And I put together 3 weight training programs with exercise choices depending on your gym and your exercise location, the cardiovascular, the whole 9 yards.
Mm-hmm.
And like 3 sales in, everything's on lockdown. And I'm going, I'm starting to think, what kind of thing did I do in my past life to deserve the karma of that?
Right.
I got to laugh about it now. I mean, what can you do?
Exactly. But what did you do, though? You did something pretty clever, I think.
Well, I ended up exercising outside.
Mm-hmm.
My training partner is going to be 80 years old in October.
Uh-huh.
And this man is super fit. Now, obviously, the gyms were all closed, and so we had to figure out a way to stay fit and healthy. So I live in a condo, so I'm on the 2nd floor, so I'm not going to be dropping dumbbells and bringing equipment up the stairs and all that. So
Mm-hmm.
I have some in my car. We exercised under a tree, and I created weekly videos to keep my clients and future clients glued to fitness, meaning, well, they're probably at home too.
Mm-hmm.
They can probably order some rubber bands on Amazon, was really backlogged, by the way, but some fitness website to get the tools. And even if they were lacking in tools, I tried to do videos that most people could have done with restricted equipment. So I kept people engaged.
Nice.
And I did have a few people talk to me about, I'm starting to gain that quarantine 15, and what would you suggest? Well, they could do the nutrition part of my Body by Blackie program.
Mm-hmm. Nice.
So I would promote the nutrition part, and I would promote these videos that most people could do from home outside. And, I answered questions, designed programs.
Mm-hmm. See,
I did some training via Skype.
Excellent
Yeah.
stuff. See, I love how, there are gifts in any situations. What's that story about the Chinese symbol for crisis is also the symbol for opportunity, right?
Yes.
And there are gifts to be found in this whole CF that we're experiencing. Okay? But one of those is that business people are getting very clever and very creative, and they're not letting, this is the American spirit at work. They are not letting this restriction stop them. You're modifying, doing what you can do, and I'm sure as a personal certified personal trainer, you know how to modify and do what's possible with what you have to offer. And I just want to acknowledge you for that, because that's the difference between businesses that are going to make it through this and businesses that won't.
I even signed up online. I had met this gentleman. He did a brief stage presentation at Marshall Gillen's event, and he was a personal trainer that talked about a program that he had developed to help personal trainers make the transition to being more online.
Mm-hmm.
Now, this was a long time ago, and I didn't even sign up at the time, but at the beginning of the pandemic, I did. So I'm learning a little bit at a time how to do the online stuff better.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'm learning to market it online better, and it's a process, just like learning how to change your body and learning how to change your health.
Right.
I'm not somebody that dives in and tries to overwhelm myself with too much, because the end result is usually the overwhelm part. And
well,
I'm in the process
I needed to hear that today.
And And I'm recertifying. So I just got my CPR recertified. I'm in the process of doing my nutrition recertification this week. And then the final one before August 30th is we have to recertify our personal training certs every 2 years. So that gets done before the end of August. So I think a lot of us have taken time to either do our CEUs or find more creative ways in our business to reach our clients and our potential clients. And I've thoroughly enjoyed, you were talking about the opportunity, the silver lining in the cloud.
Mm-hmm.
I really enjoyed having to think out of the box and get more creative. It was fun, and it's still fun because I'm still doing it.
That's awesome. Awesome stuff. Well, I want to invite you to tell us a little bit about what you are offering to our guests this appearance, and that is a 30-minute free consultation to sit down with you and get an idea of what you can provide and what potential clients may need. So tell us a little bit more about that. What does that specifically entail? Is there any report or anything like that goes along with it?
So it's kind of informal. It's more of a relationship building opportunity for both of us. So the end goal is to see if we are a match, meaning is this the client that I feel I can work with and have the best positive end results, and vice versa. Mm-hmm. So as a personal trainer, it's called personal training for a reason.
Right.
So, we have to enjoy each other's company. We have to get along in terms of the personal stuff, but we also have to be on the same page about the philosophy, what I teach. Now, when I meet someone, that's not always the case because many people, especially the ladies, because I do work with men as well, mm-hmm. but there's a lot of myth information. So sometimes, when I talk about a balanced diet, eating from all the food groups, somebody might come to me and go, oh, no, I can't do that. I had a little lady, Lillian, and she was the same age as I am. And she would say to me, I can't eat carbohydrates, but you can. And I go, why is that? She goes, well, you're an athlete. You work out more than me. And I said, well, tell me how many hours a week you're lifting weights. And it was 3 hours at that time. Mm-hmm. And she was doing about 150 minutes of steady pace cardio. And I said to her, Lillian, you are doing more physical activity in a 7-day period currently than I am. Mm-hmm. So you're more the athlete right now.
Nice.
So think about that. I don't want you to answer right now, but I want you to go home and think about that. And it was one of the things that brought her around. She just had to see it differently.
Yeah.
So I love working with people. And in that half hour, I think I show that. Mm-hmm. It's rare that half hour does not lead to me working with the person on some level. It might be a very brief relationship where they get what they need to move forward, mm-hmm. or it might be me working with them in person 3 times a week indefinitely because they need that accountability and they have the income and they want to have that relationship with a personal trainer. And I'm willing to do many in between steps. So that half hour, we're getting to know each other. We're getting to understand what the process will be like. So at the end, I'm usually saying, when we choose to work together, this is the general path that I would take you on. Okay. Now, in a half hour, I don't have time to detail it out, but it's enough to get them to think, yes, I want to do this.
Nice. And
usually that's the time where they're making a financial commitment and moving forward. Now, not everybody makes a financial commitment right away, especially right now, because there's a lot of people that are on unemployment.
Right.
So I make suggestions where it'll help them. So I've got one young man coming back. He's going to bring his roommate. They're going to split the fee. It's cheaper. It makes it possible for the 2 of them. And
awesome.
I'm willing to do that with 2 more people so that it's a group of 4 and then it's even more affordable. Or if we do it outside and let's say you're here in San Diego and I go, do you have a group of girlfriends? And you go, yeah, there's about 6 of us. And we like to exercise outside. So I would bring all of my equipment and set it up outside and there we go.
Nice.
I like to do it all different depending on what the client likes to do.
Right, right.
Because
Well,
that's the
that's,
bottom line, right? The
yeah,
client has to be consistent enough to do it to get the goal.
exactly. Exactly. I, I just want to amplify that with you because um, exercise has become a dirty word, right? It kind of has. And people, like you said, like Lillian, you have to think about it slightly differently. Go for a walk, dance with your dog, you know, lock the doors, shutter the windows, turn on the radio really freaking loud, and dance around your living room for half an hour. It does not have to be, oh my god, I don't have the right headband. I can't go to the gym today. Come
Right.
on.
I had one lady that was willing to change certain things about the way she was eating. And every time I brought up the word exercise, I mean, I could tell by her body language that she was just not having it. So I made suggestions and it was nope, 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 nope. And then finally I said, what pleasure, what movement gives you the most pleasure historically in your lifetime? You can go back in your memory. She
Mhm.
goes, dancing salsa. And
Oh.
I said, okay, now we're on to something. I said, would you go down to there used to be a club downtown San Diego that had salsa night.
Mhm.
I think it was more than once a week. And I said, can you go twice a week just to get moving? She goes, absolutely. So that's how I got her moving. I had to
There you go.
find something that resonated with her
Yeah. Yeah.
because she wasn't going to be consistent in a gym doing like the Arnold Schwarzenegger workout.
Yeah.
And that's not all I teach, by the way, but resistance training is important.
Yes. Yes. No, that's freaking amazing. I lost the train of thought that I was gonna respond to you with that, but I hate when that happens. Just flew right
Well,
out of my
we were
head.
talking about the free half hour and
Well,
and different program options. And yes, I have an
what was
online program,
yeah?
and
Tell
so
me something about that too, because we haven't touched on that at all.
the online program is called it's a 12-week online. I call it the Body by Blackie Fat Loss Program, and that's the one I was mentioning earlier, where the woman gets her dietary program, the man gets his because
Mm-hmm.
the calories are different, but they get a food list. So they get to eat foods that they enjoy.
Okay.
And then since it's 12 weeks, once a month, we change the program. So they get the weight training program for 4 weeks, and then whoops, it changes in month number 2 and it changes in month number 3. And that's the same thing for the cardio because if somebody does something too much the same,
Mm-hmm.
it's one of the 3 reasons why people don't get their fitness goal, and it's called adaptation. So if any of the listeners are doing the same exercise over and over and over again with no change in variables and intensity, doing the same behavior, expecting different result, we all know what that definition is.
Right. That's
Right?
absolutely insane. Yes.
So one of the reasons why it's incorporated into this 12-week program that they change every 4 weeks is because adaptation takes place around the end of that 4th week. I want my clients engaged. I want them moving forward. I don't want them to get bored. And I put a lot of effort into it. So when they go on www.bodybyblackie.com, they're going to see specifically what that looks like. And it is very affordable.
Awesome.
When I do in-person stuff, they have the option of buying that nutrition program, but they also have the option of doing a more personalized nutrition program in person with me or Facebook Messenger or Skype. You know, everybody's got a different need or preference.
Mm-hmm.
So some will take the online program and run with it. Others will take that program and have some questions, which I answer gladly.
Mm-hmm.
And others are more particular and they want one-on-one that's specific to them. Maybe they have a health issue that's unique,
Yeah.
that's not addressed in the online. Not everybody's goal is to lose weight either. I
That
should
is
say
true.
lose fat, lose fat.
That is true. I actually, back in my early days of recovering from adverse childhood experiences, one of my side effects of that was that I would starve myself whenever I thought that I had done something wrong. And it didn't have to be rational. It didn't have to be real. I just thought I had done something wrong, so I lost my appetite. And in the steps to recover from that and going through counseling and all that kind of stuff, I had to start going to a gym. I was 88 pounds.
Oh my!
My nutritionist set me up with pasta, macaroni salad, bread, all kinds of stuff to try and I was lifting weights to get my weight up. So you're absolutely right, and I'm glad that you touched on that not everybody exercises because they're trying to lose fat. Sometimes they're trying to gain muscle.
And if I'm working with a man or a woman that's gaining muscle, the food choices don't have to be different. I still teach them to eat foods with one ingredient. So that would be a potato has one ingredient. Potato. An apple has one ingredient. Apple. Now, some of the foods might be more calorically dense, like there might be more avocado on the weight gain program and a little less avocado for somebody who's trying to lose weight, but their calories are going to be lower anyway. And I heard you mention all of these processed and refined carbohydrates. Well, back in the day, they used to teach that. Well, today they no longer teach that.
Time ago.
Yeah. They teach people today who want to gain muscle to nourish their cells. So obviously protein builds and repairs muscle tissue, and we need protein, but it doesn't mean we don't need the other macronutrients. So the carbohydrates provide the primary energy source, and fat is also an energy source. We also need fat to absorb certain vitamins. So I'm not a fan of a lot of the fad diets that make certain food groups wrong. But whether you're losing weight or gaining weight, the trend today is to eat real food. The processed and refined food today is seen as maybe a little on the yummy side for some. I mean, I like chocolate peanut butter cups from Trader Joe's, and that's very processed and refined. But the key is, at least in my belief system, that I'm not doing that every day.
Yeah.
That 80-85% of the time, I'm putting real food into my body from Mother Nature. And for the person who wants to gain weight, they're eating more calorically dense Mother Nature foods and a higher amount of calories. And they're absolutely doing intense weight training to reach that goal.
Yeah. Awesome. It has been such a delight talking to you today, Sandra. Thank you so much for coming on to the show and sharing your expertise with us. Do you have any final comments for our listeners today?
Well, I want to encourage the viewers to go to another website called www.freedomoffitness.com, because I have more blog. That's where my blog is, actually. And there's a lot of free information there. I want to encourage them to take me up on the free half hour, whether it's in person or whether they reach me through Facebook or through email through my website. And I'm encouraging it, I'm inviting the people who really want to make a change.
Yeah.
And after this quarantine, I mean, we're on various levels of lockdown in this country. I do know that, based on the feedback I'm getting, that people have gained a little bit of weight because they've been less active. And, that doesn't have to be the way it is. You can still move. The gyms have opened, but even if you don't like to go to the gym, I mean, not everybody's ready to go back into an environment like that. And I get it. But we have to move. We have to eat from Mother Nature. This is the only place you have to live. It's your temple. Mm-hmm. So where do you go if you're not taking care of your temple?
Yeah. Good point. Good point. Well, thank you again for being here today, Sandra, and take care. Have a wonderful week. Everybody out there on Facebook, you guys hold it together, and we'll see you again real soon. Bye.
Thanks, bye.
When you open yourself up to actual energy work, makes that recovery progress so much faster. That recovery is possible. You do not have to live as a victim until your last days. You have unbelievable strength, and I know that because you're still here. Do you want to create something completely unrecognizable with your life? I can show you how.